You're actually being recorded. Just remember that.
That's all right. It's all the same.
Yeah, let me know when it officially starts.
There's not really a start.
There's not really a start. If we tell you it's an official start, then you really get nervous, and it's really not. It's just casual conversation. But if you hear my stomach rumbling in this, I'm hungry.
I just say the best taco soup. So we may have to take a break here in like.
There's one flush left.
There's one flush left in this place because there is no water in this whole thing.
Shut the water off, bro.
Freaking Garrett dropped some cherry bombs, and that's it. We have no more water down here.
I talk really low sometimes.
But when you lean back, pull it back.
Pull it to me?
Yeah, because it doesn't make a sound when you pull it back. Yeah, it's fine. Move it wherever you want to. Say that again.
Just telling me.
Put the fist like this and don't be afraid to touch it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Sometimes, dude.
Sorry, man. This one's starting off weird, dude.
I know. I'm like,
everybody's tired, delirious.
We're trying to figure out where the vibe's going to be.
You know, this is what it's really like, though. It's really like this. No, seriously, around these crowds, around the race community, it's like this, right? And I think that's the coolest part about this community is you can sit down and talk. You can expect what you're going to expect. You can explain to your kids, you know, these are people. This is what life is all about.
Absolutely.
And it's 2025, so it's going to be the start of an amazing year, I hope. And so the special guest that we have to start 2025, hopefully this is a little insight to how great the year is going to be. Because Daddy Trump's back, right?
That's right.
And now our first person on the pod is none other.
Freaking El Prepe.
El Prepe.
I just don't want to get deported.
Mr. I'll break your chin.
You're right. You're right on the border, aren't you? Like Chris is like 3 nationalities. So.
Yeah, I had to wear the hat, so I didn't wear the beanie, so I didn't get Taliban vibes.
Well, I was going to say about the TikTok deal, if you're watching TikTok, it seems like they're going to come in and just deport everybody.
Uh-oh.
Every reel I watch on it is talking about.
Even the Irish guys like me.
Yeah, that's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
I'll be excited, though. I'm excited. I think it's going to be it'll be a good thing. I don't get too political with really anybody, but I feel like we're heading towards a positive direction. So I can see it in my regular job, and I can see it out here, the racers, the community. So it looks like it's on the upswing.
Starting to see a little money flow. People are optimistic. Christmas was good. All the earnings reports were really good for Christmas. Shoppers were out. They were happy. America spoke. So
I know me and Cassie we were out and about shopping.
Yeah.
Woof.
So that's what we do.
Got to throw a couple more rentals out there, D. Try to make it up.
I mean, and thank you for doing those, man. And why don't you start out and tell people, like, just tell them, first of all, that your real job. What's your real job? First of all, this guy the full-time job is not prepping the Motorplex.
That's just what I do on my free time.
Yeah, just on his free time. So it's one of those where, like, the guy loves the community so much and what we're trying to do. He's a part of it, and he's there supporting it with his time. And it's an amazing thing. So tell everybody what you do, first of all, and tell us about your family.
Well, first and foremost, as far as, a lot of people do ask that all the time. They ask like, hey, I'll get messages from, 400 people a week, it seems, asking questions about the Texas Motorplex. Mm-hmm. I am an employee of the Texas Motorplex. Not a full-time employee. I'm not here during the week, so I don't know everything that goes on here during the week or what they've got going on. I hear it after the fact, after they've decided what they're going to do. And, but meanwhile, like during the week, while I'm trying to work my regular job, which I've had for 22 years, I'm getting phone calls come in while I'm trying to, basically what I do is I'm a converting manager for a paper facility in Dallas, Clampitt Paper Company. And I've been there right out of high school. I got it as a summer job, and I never left.
Wow, dude! So you like the family that run? I guess it's a family business.
Yep, it's a privately owned family business, and they believe in promoting within, and I just like the values that they have there.
Yeah,
and that's the way that they manage is how I manage. Mm-hmm. The corporate thing, I mean, I'll get into that a little later with when I went to work with NHRA. I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just not my style.
Yeah.
Coming up with Clampitt Paper and I mean, you can go straight to the owner and talk to him.
Right.
He will talk to you just like you're a regular person, just like everybody else.
Right.
So I feel like, when it comes to me being on a racetrack, or if I'm running a race or being a promoter or whatever it may be, it doesn't matter who it is. If you don't catch me when I'm stressing, but you have to talk to everybody like they're somebody, right?
Yeah.
In high school growing up at Midlothian High School is where I went. That was one of the big slogans on the side of on the wall, is everybody is somebody at Midlothian High School. So I take that into account as to when I'm here at the racetrack, everybody's somebody. Everybody paid their money to come through the gate. Everybody that works here is giving their time to come here and do this. Between that and the values that I have, amassed at Clampitt Paper, like I feel like that's, and then obviously my family, my dad is incredible. He has supported us. I'll say this, we grew up with not a lot, but I never would have known it. My dad is what made me the way I am. He would go, we couldn't get it. He would go work for it and then get it for us. We had everything when they had nothing. And so that's kind of the way that I raised my sons, and me and Cassie, and both of you guys know Cassie.
Yeah.
That's kind of our motto is, we want to give our children the things that we didn't have.
Right.
And, give them the life that we wanted, or that I want. And we've now been able to do that. So
that's a lot to unpack.
Really is.
So what I want to say from my perspective, I think I've started coming out here full steam ahead to your private rentals, maybe 4 years ago?
Damn.
And I guess I'm the only crazy one that was really trying to push the Dodges locally as hard as I was. And the first few times coming out here as at a private rental, it was really nerve-wracking because some of the guys that come out to this rental are like super fast dudes.
Yeah.
Like legitimate guys. And then here I am with my little freaking car.
You little Hellcat.
That's like gonna run 9.4s, and I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And then I see these things and I'm like, oh no.
You got some pro mods coming out.
But it didn't matter what happened. TJ always treated me just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So no matter learning on the track or learning on the tree, making my mistakes, braking, pushing it back, all that. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry. I rolled down the track, and now all these small tire, super fast guys are like, great, freaking Dodge broke, right? And here we are. Now they're cleaning up. TJ's like, buddy, don't worry about it, dude. We'll get it cleaned up real quick. We're good. And I'm like, man, okay, cool. That's awesome. TJ always made me feel welcomed no matter what.
Yeah.
In a crowd of big fish. So that what you're saying carries over to that. And I want to thank you for that. Personally, I really want to thank you for the kindness that you gave. And it really gave us, like me and my facility, my wife and everybody, the confidence we needed. Like to know that I can go out, TJ's got me, I'll try to push it, the track, he'll make sure the track's there and got it. And if something happens, like I blow up, catch the car on fire, shit like that, within seconds, these guys are here.
Right.
And that's really awesome. He's like, he was the first time when I went that 7-7, he's the first face I saw when I got out the car.
Big old smile.
He's like, dude, are you okay? Is everything fine? Are you good? I'm like, yeah, the car's on fire. Oh, okay, pop it, And we're getting the car out. But his first priority has always been keeping everybody safe. And it gives a lot of confidence in what we do to be able to come out to the Motorplex. So that's why I enjoy coming out here with that. And then this TJ and watching him and his son interact has been awesome. Wow. So tell us about family life, a little bit of what you got. What's happening here?
Well, I was, everybody always drops the terms, single mother, single father, all that stuff. So I don't try. I was a father that, was with Kobe, his mom was the non-custodial parent his whole life growing up. So, I had a lot of help from my mom, as basically, as he grew up, I grew up. I wasn't a teenager whenever I had him, but I was early 20s.
Yeah.
And I did not have any clue what I was going to do with my life.
Oh.
And I'm like, I got this soul here. I've got this beautiful boy here, and I have no idea. Like, I didn't know if Clampitt was going to work out for me. I had started working out here. When his mom got pregnant, I got a job out here. That's where I met Cheeseburger. And that was just to make extra money. Clampitt starting out with them, like, it wasn't the most amount of money, and so that you do what you do. You jump in and you're trying to be a provider, and you work 2, 3, however many jobs you can work. But he got to basically come up with me. He's the one son I got that got to come up and see where we struggled when he was younger as opposed to where we are now. So I don't feel like he's, like some kids that come up like well off, like they kind of have that, like, oh, I just get my way or whatever. Like, I feel like he's very grounded. He is a hard worker. He's everything that I wanted him to be.
Dude, well, he's got a great example, man.
So, yeah, for sure.
You got to look at the example. So, and to kind of pony off of Chris, man, like, I don't know you as well as Chris does, obviously, but that feeling watching you, and I've seen you, I've been to this track enough to watch you guys, and just seeing how you work with everybody, you're an incredible representative of just the sport and this facility. So,
well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Yeah. And seeing Colby come up and do that, dude, it's badass.
When they're younger, they fall in love with it, and then as they get into their teenage years, they get school going and they kind of separate from it, and he's playing sports and doing his thing with his friends, so he wasn't out here as much. Yeah. And then as he got older, it was that 16-year-old when I got him his Mustang. He's like, oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
So he's right back in it. So
it's in your soul at that point. You're right. Like, any car that you get him out of the gate that has any balls whatsoever,
absolutely,
it will turn. Like, I'm so scared of my 10-year-old right now. God, he was like, can we do a few things here? He wants to get in the junior drag, and y'all have such a cool. That's a whole nother topic, by the way, is what you guys do with kids, and that junior drag program is pretty bad.
That DeMarcus and Eric have they've revitalized that here.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's I know a lot of those folks, and when I worked for NHRA, I dealt with a lot of them, so I do know a lot of them. Mm-hmm. But I will say the passion of the junior dragster stuff is squarely on Eric and DeMarcus. Like, they have single-handedly just built one of the biggest events for junior dragsters right here at the Texas Motorplex each summer. They come, it's like a huge vacation for them. And they come and they race for 2 weeks straight. It's
wow.
Every night, DeMarcus is riding around with 30 kids, and they're just running the neighborhood is what they call it.
Yeah.
And they have games, they drag race cars, they everything, you name it. They bring in swimming pools, whatever. There's all kinds of stuff that they
crazy.
Do. So, and it's just their love of, trying to build the sport, putting these kids in that sport, which was, and I even tell them, like, man, I feel like I put a lot of effort into this sport, but watching those two and what
that's
they
a
do,
different level.
I mean, that is next level stuff.
Yeah, that's kids with all the expectations in the world.
So
30 of them.
But it prides me to be a part of that team.
Yeah.
And what they do, So we get a lot of, every big track gets a lot of hate, based off of what events we're doing, what we're not doing, what's, the expectation's higher, but
here,
a lot of people don't realize that the Motorplex is no different than any other racing venue.
Yeah.
You don't have a huge team. It's not a mega, it is a mega facility in a sense.
Yeah.
But the staff is, it's kind of tiny compared to what we do. I mean, the 11-day national event that we do, you've got 11 managers, and I get to come in and be one of those managers,
Nice.
And I got my wife running around, my kids working, DeMarcus's entire family's out here working, Eric's entire family. It takes them and all their families and friends to make that event happen. And I don't think that they get enough credit for what they do here. I do get a lot of credit for, the prep and stuff like that, but there are times where I lean on them. I'm like, damn, what do you think? I'm just throwing everything at it I can, and then, it'll be the simplest thing.
Yeah.
Where did the prep part of it come from? Have you been into drag racing?
How'd that get in your soul, man? Like, because it's in your soul for some reason. Like, when I think of track prep, I like, if we're anywhere else, I'm like, fuck, it's not. Even next door. And I'm not knocking the other track, but I'm just like, nah, it's not TJ prep.
Yep.
But how did that get into your soul, man?
So I guess kind of the history on me as far as in drag racing. I got started out here, about 20 years ago. I met Cheeseburger. He was like, hey, we're looking for a water box guy. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, I'll do it. What's a water box? And I'm out here with, my little Ford Escort ZX2. I'm trying to race it because because
a turbo car.
I'll be honest, like the Fast and the Furious came out whenever I was right out of high school, and it was literally like life-changing for me. Even though it was like import, like cars
not to interrupt, how many times have we heard that? Doing podcasts?
A lot.
I mean, from everybody kind of in that same generation, is that string of movies changed everything. Oh, it was Steve Ellis.
Yeah, Steve Ellis, same. Yep.
Yeah.
My boy Steve.
Yeah.
I love Steve. Yep. So I have good history with Steve. So Steve's done a lot of cool stuff for me. And there's no way to repay him for the things that he's helped me be able to do in a car.
Yeah.
I mean, if it weren't for him, I would have never, I've been 8 seconds at, 160 mile an hour in my Mustang with stock transmission. And that's because of Steve Ellis.
Oh, that dude's he's crazy.
And his team. I've got to give the whole team credit. It'd be Jason Palmer, it'd be Wesley Schwim. There was a whole group there that worked on that car. Steve was kind of the mastermind behind it. Rob Shoemaker tuned the car. Like there was a whole team that jumped in to make that happen for me. Mm-hmm. And I'll get into that a little later, but that was like the pinnacle of my drag racing. I never thought when I got into this with my little Ford Escort ZX2 that I would ever get in a car like that.
It starts there, man.
And do what I did. And I will say this, and I know y'all have been a lot faster than me, but it scared the shit out of me when I went through the traps. We had a coolant leak and it sprayed coolant on the window. Mm-hmm. And you know me, I tell every racer, I'm like, if you see anything, pull over.
Yeah.
I see coolant on the window. I'm at the 1,000-foot mark. And I know this car is on a pass.
You're not pulling over.
And I'm like, all right, this is going to be really good. It's going to be really bad. And I'm going in my head, I know what would TJ Bailey say to me right now. He would say, let out, pull over, turn the car off, make sure everything's safe.
Yep.
But what would TJ Bailey, the racer, say to me? It's just right there. It's just right there.
Yep.
And that pass was a personal best. I locked up the brakes at the finish line, got on my radio and told Eric, stop. I got coolant on my window, And luckily it didn't oil the track down. It ended up being something very simple, like a pinhole.
Was that Medusa?
That was Medusa.
That was a bad car.
Coolant on the track, huh?
I was trying to not get into that after today.
Sorry, man.
So, but either way, I came out here to drag race with my little Ford Team ZX2 is what we were called. It was a little online forum.
Damn.
And I mean, none of us were over the age of 21.
Still smart enough to put together a forum, though.
Right. So it might have been some guy, I don't know, but I went on that forum, and that's where my shit talking really started. I learned to talk a lot of shit on there with the ZX2 community. But we would come out here for like little track nights and stuff. Yeah. And that's where I met Cheeseburger, Eric, and got the job offer to come out here. So I did that. And my very first race I ever worked outside of just a basic test and tune was this race called Fun Ford. The very first race I ever worked. So my first ever race, they worked me in the water box, and I got to see like pro mods. That's when they had like that nitro coupe class.
Oh yeah.
And the fuel that goes into your face and burns your eyes, and like that was some of the cool shit. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And then watching them go down the track, I'm like, oh my god, they're so fast. You know, the guy that hired me at that time was a guy named Trey Capps, who's had a lot of influence on my drag racing life.
Mm-hmm. The Capps NHRA folks?
No, this is I don't know that he's kin. He always jokes with me and says, yeah, that's my cousin, but I don't think it is. But he's a huge Ford guy.
Okay.
Basically, he basically took me and Eric and a lot of the other guys under his wing and built up what I call the next generation at the Texas Motorplex. The generation in front of us were employees that started to work at this facility and from the day it opened. They were all older guys. They were great. They were the kind of leaders that you would want your young men to be around.
Yeah.
And that's what made us who we are today. But leading into that, I did the Fun Forward deal. I loved it. The very next race they put me out was an NHRA national event. Well, guess who had no idea what an NHRA national event was? Me. So they're like, hey, you want to work this national? I'm like, yeah,
Was
sure.
it spring or fall?
It was, well, it was fall. It was before they only did one at this point. It was in 2005 is when it happened.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, what am I doing? They're like, oh, you're just doing your water box deal. I'm like,
just,
okay. So,
did I need anything special? No,
yeah. I'm
you're
just,
good.
I'll see, next thing I know, there's 15,000 people in the stands, and I'm like, wow, must be a big race, And where we come in, you don't see any of the giant trailer. Like, there's trailers there, but you don't see the cars that come out of them. I've never seen a top fuel car or a funny car. I had no clue what they were.
Not even on TV or anything.
Never watched it.
Are you kidding?
Never watched it.
And you're out here in the water.
Right. And so, they bring us in at our back gate back there to come in as employees. We pull in, I see like the, regular bracket cars and stuff. And I'm like, oh, whatever, it's cool. It's a big race.
Yeah.
So then I come to the start line and we do 2 days of racing with what I call bracket cars or index cars, like the Sportsman series.
Yep.
So I never saw anything fast. And I'm like, man, this is taking forever. This is like the same stuff over and over and over. Well, then Friday, my boss, the Motorplex, comes up to me and he throws me a rag and he says, you're going to need this. And I'm like, why? He goes, put some water on it. I'm like, okay. Well, then I turn and I look. He kind of points to the back, and I turn and look, and there's 2 like dualies pulling up under the tower. And I'm like, dually? Like, what do I need a rag for if there's a dually rolling up? What I didn't see was the top fuel cars behind them that they were pulling up under the tower. So when I saw them, at those events, you have to work for NHRA. You can't work for the Motorplex. So I go up to them, and what's the first thing I do? That's illegal with NHRA is to start snapping pictures of the cars. I take my cell phone, or my primitive little Nokia cell phone. And I start taking pictures of the top fuel cars. One of the NHRA guys walks up to me. It's like, hey, you can't be doing that. You gotta, I'm like, there's some cool shit I ever seen.
Uploaded to MySpace.
I think I did.
Your background picture.
That's funny.
What song would go with that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm sure there's plenty of songs out there.
We'll have to figure that one out. Hey, Tori can create a reel, and that's what we'll do to promote this podcast, is what the song would be for that.
Wake me up before you go.
Yay. Damn, Chris in the clutch.
They fire the cars, and it's the oddest sounding, loudest car I've ever heard in my life when they fired it up. Yeah. And it's like, it's like a woo, and then it just starts, it's loud.
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh man, this is going to be cool. So I'm like, I get to sit in the middle of this. It's going to be badass. So then they roll up and then they start their burnouts. Well, it doesn't hit you that fast. After they hit the burnout, next thing you know, I'm like,
Yep.
my eyes start burning. And then my boss is sitting over here watching with a couple of our old timers, and they're laughing at me. He's like, the rag. And, I throw the rag in. I'm like, well, the problem is when you take a wet rag with nitro all over it and you suck it into your mouth or into your nose, then you get nitro that goes into your nostrils, down into your throat. So they played a joke on me. So literally, I couldn't see. I was blind. I put my hand over this and I put my hand over this, and I walked out. I had to go to the short chute because it hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And then, he's like, what are you doing? You get your ass back out there and get to work, So I'm like, okay, I'm going back. He's like, why are you crying? What's wrong with you?
Stop crying. Stop crying and get your ass back out there, boy.
So, I got back out there and finished the event, and it was awesome.
That's where it was born.
That's where it was born. So
freaking fire in his soul, literally, was nitro in your veins.
So after that, I saw the guys on the start line, and they were the most, our guys were incredible, and watching the NHRA start line guys they were like machines, literally machines. And that's where, I get my work ethic from the Motorplex guys, as far as they do the same job just as good, but they're going to have a hell of a lot more fun doing it.
Yeah.
The NHRA guys, they're watching everything. They're on, the old school guys that I grew up with.
Yeah.
I don't work a ton with the newer guys. It seems like they do a great job. So, I throw them props. But these old guys, it's just, the old timers are just something special to work with when you work with them. I mean, they're mean as shit, but
rowdy.
They don't make mistakes. Yeah. And then when you make a mistake, they light your ass up. And then, they come back later. Hey, man, you're going to be all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of how I came up, and that's kind of how I raised Kobe, and then Lane, as he got older, and now little Tater, which y'all all know Tate, he's kind of the king of the racetrack around here.
He is. He rules this.
Yeah. Yep. So when they mess up, that's the way that I punish, is we go extreme. And then we'll go back, and Cassie says I'm too soft all the time. She's like, "Oh, you just baby him." But that's how I came up, management-wise. They tear your ass up, and then they come back later, rub you on the shoulder. Hey, let's get work done. Yeah. So that's kind of how I raised my boys. But these NHRA guys were like this, and I was like, man, I want to work for them one day. Like, this is the coolest thing. And, talking to them, they all look like beat up, like old pieces of leather, because
they're freaking breathing nitro
around the country.
Breathing nitro.
Yeah. Breathing nitro and literally working 12 to 16 hours a day on the start line. They don't have shifts. You're there. I mean, you don't get a lunch break. You don't, you're there. And so I started with them, and, you want to be the man, you want to be a badass. So I just jumped right in, and that's how kind of my work ethic for the start line works. If you notice, I don't leave the start line very often. And that's not the one, that's kind of the willpower that I've developed, but it's also how I was raised as a start line worker, as that this is your line. You walk away from the line, bad shit happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you need to be on the line.
I don't feel good if you're not up there, man. And that's not very often, but it's on, maybe a rental or something, you're stepped away, but always good to see your face.
Right. And the racers look at it, they look for you. Where's TJ?
I do.
I'll say TJ, you could get the same track with me up there or me not up there, and you could swear up and down that the track is better because I'm up there, and it could be the same racetrack.
Well, so I mean, so there's a night and day difference example to that, and that's going to be TX2K.
Yeah,
TX2K Houston. All the times that it's been down there, it's been terrible, and I say this because heavyweights would only get 3, 4, maybe 2 qualifiers. This TX2K, with you running that, was insane. I have never seen 7 qualifiers. I was like, my car is not going to make it to Sunday because, like, holy hell, how many dang qualifiers? You
got to run 7, buddy.
Yeah, I'm like, but I was like, I got to try to go faster. What if someone's going to sneak in and take my spot?
That ain't no joke, dude.
But it was the smoothest, best running TX2K event ever with you at the helm of the starting line.
Well, that's, I'm just one piece of the puzzle with that race. They bring in, some guys from Maryland, and obviously, the top end, you got DeMarcus is down there with a whole group of incredible young men who are rolling chutes, who are pushing cars, putting in work, the kind of work we had to put in when I was younger. Yeah. These kids are going out there and doing it. And everybody says the new generation doesn't put in work.
No, they do.
The kids they found here, these boys bust their ass and they put in work. Yeah. And it's just like Kobe. Kobe's the same way. And that's, I don't know how DeMarcus does it. I don't know how Eric does it, but they always find good young men. And, we've got one Landon who's working, who I'm worked with his dad for many, many years. And this boy stepped right in, and I tell you, within 2-3 weeks, he's got it down. He knows what all my hand signals mean. He knows whenever I'm pissed and he needs to leave me alone. He knows when to come up, rub me on the shoulder. And just their ability to find these type of people to make this giant puzzle we need to make a race like TX2K work is incredible. Not to mention Peter brings in staff from all over the country, and they meshed extremely well with us. And that's one thing we were concerned about. We're very prideful as a racetrack. We feel like we're a turnkey operation. We can do whatever you need. It don't matter how big it is. We have the staff to do it, and we will do it with success. And so, Peter has his people that he's been using at TX2K for many years now. Jason Miller, who's an incredible mentor of mine. Yeah. So I've worked with Jason on several occasions, and his work ethic is second to none. So I knew when they came here, like we have to be on our A game. And I even told Eric that when we were talking to Peter at one of the national events here before we knew, when we found out Houston was going to close. I said, look, when they come, like, we have to be on our A game because that's what this man expects. If not, we're not going to have this race long. And then the staff they brought in, I've worked with them and seen, a lot of those guys work at organizations that I used to work at. I used to, what I was telling you about the guy that worked here, my former boss, Straight Caps, he went to work for a organization called National Muscle Car Association and the National Mustang Racing Association. Both of them went out of business this year. They just announced it back in December, and that's heartbreaking to me for that to happen because I cut my teeth there. I learned how to treat a racer there. I learned how to be somebody, and when I say that, I'm not saying that, I'm somebody, like, treat me with respect. Yeah. So I feel like that's not my job to say I'm somebody. That's everybody else's job to say I'm somebody. It's my job to stay humble and put in work. And then being somebody, you will become somebody if you put in the work and stay humble. And that's kind of what people say. And some people are like, oh my God, I can't believe I made it. I'm like, dude, I'm just me. Like, I'm going to do the same shit I do out on the racetrack every,
I mean, it's true. Yeah. I feel like our relationship is kind of a roller coaster because you give me personal best and then you break my chip.
That's right. That's right. Real quick, before I forget.
Oh no.
I'm breaking somebody's shit. We did break your shit personally. At the winter warm-up. Yeah. So that's a sticker that's for you, sir. Not for your car, but for you. So we don't have to go into detail about that. But
we're going to go into detail about that because
that's a different kind of break.
He's got a sticker on that.
I still want to see that sticker on your chest.
Yeah. There's some photos that will circulate. We're going to use it for saving other people the dumbassery that happened in that car. And that is all on me. You guys just happened to be there, which was badass. So
I'm surprised it wasn't a Mustang person that happened to, because we do all kinds of dumb shit.
It's just, it's a guy that just wants to go fast, and I'm like, this can't be too bad. Yeah, I'm getting a little dizzy. I've been dizzy before. Trust me, man. I mean, I've got a story, but I got back in that thing and I started back up, and within like a minute, I was like, oh, and I was like, I can't find my way out. I opened the door and I was like, I remember seeing everybody around me, and I remember seeing everybody, like, it was DeMarcus. I don't remember who else. I remember distinctly DeMarcus there, the cowboy hat. And I was like, that was about the last person that I could make out. So that incident, I will take this thing right here.
And that goes on you.
I'm going to put it on the chest, and we'll do a reel.
I'd like you to get a tattoo of it. That's what I like.
Can't do the tattoo. Great suggestion, but that's not going to happen. But I love this. And if you get one of these stickers, that means you're trying.
Yeah. Well, you were trying.
Yeah, I was trying.
Yeah, you were going to be on a mission for that. And
that was going to be a personal best.
It was. It was.
It would have.
Until.
But
that's all right. We got it this week, I'm sure. So.
Yes.
You did.
Yeah.
So what's the hardest thing about running in one of your events?
Well, it depends. If it's, so, and you can ask my wife this. I am down on myself. It don't matter if the event went perfect or if the event was a complete shit show. And we've had, when you're in our line of work, it's just an up and down roller coaster.
Yeah.
And, the hardest part of an event for me is providing the expectation to the racer that I feel like they deserve. Even, my wife's even told me, hey, it's a great day. I'm like, okay, well, there's that one guy who just kept spinning and I couldn't figure it out. She's like, well, it's not your job to figure it out. Was the track good? And I still think in the back of my head, like, did I fuck up? Is there something I messed up?
Wow.
Like, and this is at every race. I mean, it's, I travel around the country and prep racetracks, I mean, everywhere.
Yeah.
And it never fails. There's always some car there that I'm just like, damn it, why can't this guy get down the track? And then I take it personal to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or a racer will come up and yell at me or whatever. You know, I had it happen today. You know, I'm busting my ass today. I stop and try to prep every, 5 or 6 pair. And, the Dodge deal is a little different. Wheel hop and Dodges is like, they go hand in hand, on a radial prep track. And what it does is it makes the surface inconsistent. Well, I had a guy, to be honest with you, I couldn't even hardly look at him. I was tired trying to get the track right. And he runs up, my car never does this. Why is it? What happened? And I'm just like, bro, I'm busted I don't even know what happened. But what do you do at that point? There's nothing you can do other than, well, I got to try to work harder.
Give him a Chris Bailey card.
So.
Yeah. Come talk to me.
At this event,
come talk to me.
At this event, you just hand out Chris's card. That's
but it's one of those things where you just, each event, the hardest part of the event is trying to make sure that everything's perfect.
Yeah.
I want everything to be perfect.
I'll say this. I think, you being hard on yourself is I get it. Okay. But the Dodges, on your prep, I always find that when they have the hop issue, they don't have the right tire pressure.
Right. And that's 99% of the time is what I see that. And I even had a local racer here who's been struggling with that for a year and a half. And he's finally was like, came up to the start line, TJ, what do you think?
Yeah.
And he'll walk the track. He's like, God, it's so good. What do you think? And I said, well, honestly, I think you just need to put more tire pressure in your tire. Well, do you think I need to adjust this or just, no, go full tight, air it up and let it rip and try to make it spin off the hit.
Yeah.
And if it goes, it goes. He popped a wheelie. Wow.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, fast down, pass over me.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, so what's the difference from a radial prep approach to what some other people might be, like a slick approach or a different kind of tire approach? What's the difference that you're mainly doing in the track between those two?
So, a lot of people say, oh, radial is so much different than a slick tire prep. For me, it's not. I do the same basic start of the day setup. The only thing different for me is in slick tire, we don't go out and spray the track every 20 minutes. Okay. I'll do a light hand spray. We'll rotate. Me and Jesse will jump on, rotate and flat drag. And, we'll just let them run. I mean, it stays tight. You felt our surface, as long as the surface has got some good, what I like to call bite, it's not necessarily the glue. The glue is gluten based. It activates friction.
Yeah.
And then that's where you get that pop. So once you spray the track and you get a good base and it's got that in it, it doesn't have to be crazy, like fly trap sticky on top for a slick tire to go down there. They've got a bias sidewall, it's loose. And then on our track, like even a slick tire track, like it's going to be pretty aggressive.
So a slick needs the rotation of the tire to keep
bit of give
keep going.
Because if it's too tight, it'll roll, and you can see it in slow mo. It'll roll over on itself and it'll hop.
Yep.
And then it'll bounce and it's done. And you see that a lot with these Dodges.
So that's good pieces of advice for the Dodges. That if you are watching the video in your of your cars making passes, if your tire is rolling over, then your tire pressure is too low. Yeah. Because that's what's causing the wheel hop.
Hey, we'll
it's
even
overextended
put up
the tire.
We'll put up a picture. We have a picture of when I had to add some pressure and what that actually looks like on the inside, how it shadows on that one.
Yeah, it looks like a saw blade.
Looks like a little saw blade. So we'll drop a picture of that. But it is about tire pressure, man. And most people just don't understand that tire actually requires pressure.
Right. And, like slick prep rental or radial rental, I give you the same track, except I don't spray the slick side near as much. Yeah. But you're going to get the same base. Base is what's important. And radial cars don't realize that either. The first thing they come up to you and they say, hey, you go out there and give me some love. Well, when are you going to spray the track, this or that? If the base is good, you don't have to.
Right.
That radial tire is going to hook right up on that and go right down.
Because a radial tire doesn't like the rotation because it will never recover after it's over rotated.
That's it.
Correct. Yep. And I have overdone a track to a point to where a radial tire has basically gone into wheel hop, has shook. And I've used to prep for the Radial versus World guys, X275 guys. And back when all this stuff, I won't say when it first started, but as it started getting big and we brought it into NMCA and we were prepping for it, we had that happen all there. Like, man, your tracks are just too aggressive. Like
Really?
even our radial, like I just didn't put enough air pressure in it. Like it's because I'm like, why are these damn things shaking like 60, 70 feet out?
Yeah.
And I had a really good racer who's extremely smart named Keith Berry came to me and I'm like, dude, what happened? I'm sorry. I fucked up.
Yeah.
He's like, you didn't fuck up. I just didn't have enough tire pressure. He goes, your track's too damn sticky. I shook.
So when you're watching a car go down the track on a radial prep, are you watching how that car's transferring the power? Are you paying attention to that? Or?
So when I was younger, I didn't understand that as much as I do now. But now we kind of know what to look for. We look for the squat, then we look to see, as it raises up, the compression of the spring as it comes up, does it top off? If it tops off too fast, it'll pull the tire up off the track and then they'll skitter. So it's just little stuff like that. You can kind of tell. And I had a really good racer one time tell me like, hey, look, TJ, if they get out 80 feet and they're moving around or doing something dumb, that's on them. They need to figure that out.
Yeah.
But then I have other racers who come out there like, it's fucking junk out there. And you go out there and you literally cannot, you can't, you'll fall down. It's so damn sticky.
Yeah.
And so that's where I've kind of gotten into like wanting to learn more about suspension. Not that I'm going to go say, hey, your car fucking sucks. My track's great. Because I don't do that.
It's for personal to make you feel. I mean, because a lot of people, I can see how you would beat yourself up if you didn't actually understand like the physics behind suspension and how weight transfers and all that. That's for you to understand, not to give advice on. So that's really smart.
Right. And there are, some guys like my friends that, like Nick Fosnot was at my last rental and he's got this new S650 with the blower and he just kept scattering the tire off the hit. So I said, look, dude, raise the pressure and go full tight. And he was like, but it's been this. I'm like, dude, just raise the pressure and go full tight.
Yeah.
Car dead hooked, did a wheelie, and then got out a little further and then scattered the tire again. So what do you think on that? I said, well, what shocks you running on the front of the car? Well, I mean, nothing, like their stock or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, pull the sway bar out.
Yeah.
So he loosened the sway bar out and then he had good, the car didn't banana and it didn't pull the ass end up and he was able to get through it. So, but it's just little stuff like that. As I get older and a lot of what's helped me is actually having my own car.
Yeah.
And dealing with Steve Ellis. Steve has given me a lot of advice on how suspension works.
Yeah.
And so, I'll see a car do something and Steve's like, hey, bitch.
Yeah. It's a good Steve Ellis.
He's like, hey, bitch, that's not your track. And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, I could go like 1-0s on this. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm going to trust you. When that guy comes and cusses me out, I'll talk to him.
Yeah. That's awesome.
There was a little of that today, really.
Yeah.
Right? There was a few folks that stopped by the pits with, well, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And 17, 18 pounds.
Yeah. These guys, it's like a heavy car. I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of been sorting out the tires and Dodge suspension. I've been able to do really well because of your prep. But one, because I've done most of my record setting on stock suspension and only adjusting tire pressure based on your prep. So,
yesterday a lot of guys were struggling and, then Z comes up at the end of the day and I'm not going to say what his 60 foot was, but I was like,
yeah.
So I asked him, I said, man, are you 4-link or are you IRS? He was like, IRS. I'm like, holy cow.
Yep.
And he was like, track was great. And I'm just like, okay.
It was shit. It was phenomenal, dude.
Yeah, track was awesome.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not the type of guy that like, if I feel like I'm having an off day, which this event last year was kind of the same. A lot of guys would come here and bounce. And the problem is when they bounce a tire like that on the track and it's radial prep, it pulls it up.
Well, no, here's what they do also. The folks that don't know, because I haven't been in drag racing that long. The folks that don't know, what do? They lower the pressure.
That's right.
And it gets worse.
Yep.
And they're like, what the fuck? And they don't have fun. And we told, I don't know, probably 10 people today.
Yep.
And hopefully that gets out. Maybe they have a better time tomorrow. But like, this is the surface you want to race on.
Sure. And it's one of those things that where, when a tire hop's literally the worst thing as a racetrack guy that you have to deal with.
Oh, and an IRS guy as well. That's the other thing is you have to watch out for that.
Does it tear the track up then?
Yeah, so what it does is it makes it's like potholes, right? It goes really sticky where they dead hook the tire and when it bounces, it doesn't hurt it, and as it lands, it rips the rubber down to concrete. And then it bounces up again nothing, and it's good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. So it's hard to recover from that. So instead of having one bald spot wherever they launch from, now you've got 4 or 5 bald spots that you're having. You're like, damn. So then the next car comes up and they line up right in that same damn spot. And I'm like, I know exactly what's supposed to happen. And so like, that's why I always recommend to people, one, if you're allowed to have a spotter to help line you up, use the damn spotter.
Yeah.
You know, if not, you're going to come up and you're going to see the groove from your car, but you're not going to actually see what it actually looks like.
Yep.
And you'll be like, oh, there's a groove, and you're going to go right in it, and you're going to do the same shit that the guy in front of you just did, because your car is going to hook where it's good, and it's going to bust loose, and it's going to do the same thing. And so for me as a track prep guy, one, you have time constraints to worry about, which, you know, Eric's on my ass all the time about like, hey, it's getting cold. Like, we're going to lose the track because it's getting cold. Like, I can't stop every pair when somebody does that and do a full scrape fill. And, you know, you've seen my scrape fills where we take the rubber and
move it around.
You know, now I got 6 bald spots I got to fill. I got to walk it all the way down to fill it, and then within 4 or 5 pair, the next guy comes up does the same shit. And then boom, it's messed up again. But this is something that happens in every street car event, not just the Dodge deal. It's street cars in general, just because of the suspension game they're playing. Yeah. So, and I know this, and so that's why I offer, you know, any help that I can. They could tell me, hey, take your advice and shove it up your ass. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. But I'll offer it if they ask. If they don't ask, I don't say anything, because, you know, just like I don't like a racer coming up to me trying to tell me how to prep my surface, I damn sure know a racer doesn't like it whenever
the prep guy tells them
blew their tires off their car. It was a shit run. Yeah. And then the track guy rolls down and says, you need to learn to tune your car to the track.
So I've actually had that happen before. I've had that happen before. And I was baby in the drag race. I was out at Little River, not calling track out. It was just somebody out there that was working. And I had no idea. I'm scared of shit. Like, that track is sketch anyways. And I was like,
that's a fun track, man.
It's so fun, dude. It's so fun. But as a new racer, it's sketch, because I'm like, now I'd be like, oh yeah, I got this. But I'm sitting there, and the guy, like, he comes back around. He comes to like my trailer, and was like, hey man, you need to do this, this, and this. And I was like, he was like official looking. I was like, okay. And I get up to the line. He lines me up, and I was like, I don't even know who this guy is, first of all. and I'm like, okay. I get to the point, and I am fucking the car up at this point. And I was like, are you like a helper here or something? He was like, yeah, I'm like the water box guy. And I was like, oh God. I was like, when you said water box guy, that's actually a term. And I was like, I didn't know that you know, because there's several jobs. I think you guys do everything together. So I didn't know there was individual jobs, and you said water box guy. So that validated his water box guy store.
That's an official.
And I will just say this, and I'm not saying the guy didn't know what he was doing, but usually if you're in a water box position, you're probably new.
You've been there.
Or you've just given up on life, and you're like, I'm just going to spray water. Fuck what right. Start line.
I mean, I think it was the latter. But God bless the guy for trying to help me, you know, but I was like, when I could see how you wouldn't want to get involved, man, because that's a whole nother battle.
Right. And I know that dude's already frustrated. And if he comes to me and asks, like, and I was really bad about this when I was younger. I was real hot-headed, and I knew that, like, man, I know how to prep a racetrack.
That's right.
And then somebody would come to me and blame it on the track, and you couldn't tell me. I'm like, I mean, fuck you. Like, whatever, you know, it's there ain't nothing wrong with that track, you know?
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'll take an ass chewing. The dude will go calm down. He'll come back. I'll bust my ass, and he makes a good pass. He'll forget about it.
Yeah.
And I'll have a customer for life.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I do my stuff here. You know, I try not to go too crazy with people. You know, I let DeMarcus and Eric handle that. And you can ask DeMarcus and Eric, like, I'm the non-violent one out of the 3. DeMarcus and Eric can handle themselves, and they take care of or Jesse, they'll get Jesse involved every now and then. Yeah. If it gets really out of hand. But I'm going to be the first person to get away from the drama. I value my life.
That's a good thing, man.
So
that's a good reflex to have, man.
Right. But with that being said, I do talk a lot of shit. I mean,
it's okay.
When you're coming up in this industry and you do start gathering a good following, doing these rentals is what made me decide, with Eric, like, damn, we could probably throw a race.
Yeah.
Like these streetcar guys, when I started the rentals here for streetcars. I didn't start them for grudge cars. I didn't start them for class cars, like radio world versus world cars. I didn't start it for all that.
Yeah.
When I left NMRA and NMCA and came back to Texas, nobody knew me in the car scene. No, my name was built out on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. So everybody out on the East Coast knew me, but they also knew that like I had basically retired from doing all that out there. They didn't know what I did. Right. I went to work for NHRA for a few years, and that it just wasn't for me. Great organization, great people. It wasn't my style of racing. Man. Yeah, it was. There was a lot of bickering between the organization and the racers.
Yes.
And I don't think that's a secret. I don't think that's, and that's not a knock at, NHRA is in a position where they have to deal with, any little mistake they make. I mean, you're under a microscope.
Oh, it's crazy.
And they will drag your ass through. They'll have it on news stations. They'll have it anywhere. So I get it. When I was part of NHRA, decisions I'd make here at the Texas Motorplex or NMRA, NMCA, at a grudge race, whatever, I'd get scrutinized by these people. And it's not we're just going to talk shit about you on Facebook and life goes on. No, they're calling your bosses. They want you fired. They're going to try to sue you.
Damn.
It's like big business. So I get why NHRA is the way they are.
Yeah.
And I understand. A lot of people don't understand it. I do. But also I get, the racers' frustrations with, well, why aren't they nicer? Why aren't they, why do they run us on these strict schedules? Why do they do this? Everything they do, there's a reason that they do it.
Yeah.
It's just like, the OSHA stuff. Like every OSHA rule is because somebody got killed doing that.
Somebody got caught.
Right. So that's why NHRA does things the way they do.
Yeah.
That was one of the most stressful points of my life was working for them. You come from just being a track crew guy, prepping tracks, and then you get thrown into rules, tech, licensing, and then, the everyday complaints, like the whole job as a whole. And it was a great job. And I love that job. Yeah. And I learned, I would dare to say, and that job, I actually worked with Trey Caps too. He brought me in there. He got me on it with NMRA, NMCA. And then when he went to work for NHRA, he brought me in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, look, man, like this is dog eat dog. Like you better be ready.
Yeah.
Like, everybody loves TJ Bailey until they don't. And I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. So, my name and the reputation I had built out, outside of there didn't really mean shit going into there. That's the big leagues. So, but I did that for a few years and I decided, I was like, man, I just want to go back to the paper company.
Yeah. Sometimes the drama's too thick, man.
Yeah. And then the paper company hadn't, brought anybody in. So, my boss at the same time was still looking for somebody and like reached out. I was like, hey man, what's going on? What, you enjoying it out there? And I'm like, as a matter of fact, like, me and my wife are expecting a baby and now they got me traveling, 20 times a year. And like, I just don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you want to come back to Clampitt? Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I start tomorrow?
So, absolutely. Yeah. I actually left Clampitt for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then went to work with NHRA full time and then decided, I'm ready to go back to Clampitt.
Yeah.
When little Tater was born. So, not a knock against them. I love them. They're great people. There are some incredible people there that I still call for assistance and help, if they're from their tech staff, their management, like great people. But you just can't beat Clampitt. Like I love Clampitt. I'll be there probably my whole life unless they fire me.
So, dude, I've got a mother-in-law that she worked at a company. She worked at a company similar to yours. She was there for 40 years. Mom and pop, but pretty big to support enough, like good insurance and things. She was completely happy. I was like, man, that's really cool for somebody else to have a business that somebody just really enjoys being at. So if you're comfortable, dude, that's an incredible thing to have. They probably value you.
Absolutely.
So that's a great spot to be in.
Yeah, they you amass a lot of vacation when you're with a company for a long period of time.
Yeah, you got your own check, man.
Was to a point it's like, hey, you got your drag racing schedule yet? I'm like, yeah, I'll bring it to you next week. That way they can, I used to take off I would fly around the country like 20, 30 times a year.
Yeah.
Before I went to work for NHRA.
Yeah.
And it was all the vacation time I had with them, they would allow me to do that. So when I went to go back to work with Clampitt, talking to my boss, and I'm like, hey, I get all my vacation back.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, we can work it out. I was like, okay, good. He was like, still doing the drag racing stuff? I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Be good.
Well, he knows. I mean, at that point, like when somebody figures out what you're attached to like that, and it was obvious, right? So if it was obvious, they can support that. They can make you a happy human being. That means you're going to stick around. So as a business owner, man, and I've built it in, a lot of businesses, those are the people that really cares. Like I found if you hire people that you can generally make comfortable by moonlighting, doing whatever they do passionately, that they're just not ready to jump into all the way, you got a really good, happy employee.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's just really hard to find nowadays.
But the Motorplex is that way as well. I mean, Eric and DeMarcus, like a lot of people don't know, but they call us the Three Amigos, but they are actually my bosses.
Yeah.
So, they treat me really well. They basically let me work, what I want to work, when I want to work. And then, obviously allow me to do the rentals and stuff like that, which also is a direct, show of respect towards me, in my opinion, from the owners of the Motorplex, which is the Meyer family. And they have been nothing but supportive in everything that we do here, bringing in the street cars, the radial stuff. It's like a huge family here for a national event. Like when the Meyer family comes down, it's like a party. Her kids hang out with my kids. It's just a huge, I don't even know, it's the family aspect of working here is unlike anything I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
It is incredible.
So you have a lot on your plate that you do.
Sure.
Clampitt, rentals, all this other stuff. And every rental or track event or anything that we're doing late at night, Cassie's there.
That's right. Cassie is my guardian angel. She's my number one. So she's going to be there to make sure that, one, I don't overwork myself.
Yeah.
And two, she just is there to cool me down whenever I'm having a bad day. She's there to, hey, see Tater, we just recently got an RV, so she can go hang out in the RV and not sit in her car the whole time.
Yeah. Because she'd always be there sitting in the car, making sure, bringing you food and all that.
That's it.
So having Cassie and backing you has really helped push your vision to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like I told you guys before, I was a single dad for a long time. I did have another one that my middle child, Lane, and which his mom has been, very good with him, and we've had our struggles, but it's been good. I've been involved in his life, and now more than ever, and a lot of that is because of Cassie. Yeah. Cassie came in and took, I won't say it was like a hostile situation, but being his mom just didn't really see eye to eye. And Cassie came in and kind of played that peacemaker. Let's, we see your vision for Lane, and TJ also has, wants to be in his life. Here's the vision for Lane, and she's made it, just made my world so much better.
We talk about that a lot
all the time.
We talk about the silent heroes in the crazy visions that we have, and it's the wives that give us that backbone push. Otherwise, we'd be crazy and everything else. So I'd like to always give a shout out to the strong women that help us do stupid things.
Yes,
absolutely.
She
She has seen me do some dumb shit, and she's just like, once she shakes her head, she's like, I can't believe you did that. And then two, she'll either give me an ultimatum like, you're never doing that again.
Yeah.
Or,
There's certain things I'm not allowed to do anymore. But
it's a good thing.
It really is. And then sometimes it's hard to admit in the moment. You're like, damn it.
Yep. That's awesome.
I'm going to try it again. I'm going to find a way to try it again. Well, that's what it takes, man, is we're finding more and more that, everybody that, has some sort of success in doing crazy shit, let's just put it to be real, has some sort of like guardian angel. Love the way you put that.
Absolutely.
Because that's a good description of what that person is. They don't get too close, but enough to like show you where your lanes are, man. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, she has, and Chris knows, I'm no stranger to just insane amount of like shit talk online when it comes to like Mustang stuff. And
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
it is different level. Like if I was to come into the
Well, I
Dodge
was
world,
gonna join at one point, but it asked if I was like, "Do you wear a skirt?" I was like, "No," and then it said, "Sorry, try again."
Can't join the Mustang
well, you have to
pages.
lift the skirt.
I'm just.
Yep.
We tried that with Steve too. He dodged. So you guys are good at dodging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Mustang deal is, once you're a guy who's never had a fast car, then you get a car and you build it up and you do something with the car, which actually Cassie was the reason I got the car. She's co-signed for me because old Bailey didn't have no good credit back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, here comes Cassie co-signing for me and says, I'm like, man, when the S550 Mustang came out, I'd worked for NMRA for almost 10 years and I gave 0 F's about getting a Mustang.
Yeah.
Didn't like the way they looked. I'm like, whatever, this is fun. I'm making money. Like, whatever. Work the race, prep for them, fly home, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, then we were in Bowling Green, Kentucky in 2014, and here they come. They're like, hey, one of the new Mustangs is going to be there to make an exhibition pass like later in the day. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, then I see this, like, I was like, I was the import guy. I watched Fast and the Furious. I mean, come on, man. And then I seen that S550 roll around that corner.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, oh my God. Like,
You were in love?
yeah, I was like, I got to have one. And at this point, they were like
attainable.
32,000.
Attainable, for
Guess
sure.
what? Old Bailey didn't make 32,000. So I'm like, one day I will get one of those.
Yeah.
And so the first one I got was like a V6. And I thought I was a hot rodder in that little V6. I was like, I got a bad bitch.
A V6.
Bro, I had the 3.5 Charger.
And you thought you were
bet
hot
you was a
stuff too?
bad
It was
mofo
the
in
it was
too,
the
didn't you?
HO, motherfucker. The 8 had HO. Remember the high output?
Stop.
Yeah, I was a piece of shit.
So, a Dodge has a lot to do with why I started modifying my GT as much as I did. So, after the V6, Cassie was like, we got to get you a GT.
Yeah.
When we met. So I'd already had like a stick shift GT that Eric broke,
Yeah.
and
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you, Eric. Appreciate you breaking my shit. So, I was like, man, one, I don't want to do the manual anymore because I keep breaking shit. I want an automatic at this point. And I was using my cousin had the car financed because my credit sucked.
Yeah.
And so, she's like, hey, I need to get the car out of my name because yada, yada, yada. So I had to sell the car. And that was like heartbreaking for me because that's the first V8, like badass car. And it's like my dream car.
Yeah.
And I had to sell it.
Yeah.
Well, then here comes Cassie. Me and her weren't even together for more than like 6 months. She's like, I'll go sign for you. And I'm like, wait, you will?
Dude.
I'm like, I just found the love of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We go out and we get this little blue Mustang, which, Medusa.
Yeah.
And the first thing I do is I get like a little tune for it.
Right.
And I think it was through like Bryn Speed or BMP or somebody. And mind you, it's just a basic stock Mustang with a tune. Well, I'm driving down the road, headed home, and I put an exhaust on it so it was loud. And here comes like this green.
Wait, hang on.
392.
The Mustang, you're like, I put an exhaust on a Mustang. So a Mustang out of the factory is just a loud car anyways.
It's
by
a
nature.
not crazy loud, but yes.
But when you modify the exhaust, they're obnoxious.
It is like ear bleeding loud. Yes, it is. And guess what? Daddy loved it.
Yeah,
Daddy loved it. Every neighbor we had, I guarantee you, and to this day with Kobe's car, I'm sure the neighbors that I have, like they are so they're chill. They don't say a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful that, they are accepting of us and our loud vehicles.
The hoodlums in the neighborhood.
Yeah, the hoodlums in the neighborhood. So, but yeah, so either way, I got my exhaust on and I'm like rolling down the road, headed home from work, Clampitt Paper. And here
What song were you listening to? Let's just.
It was probably like, I don't know, like, I did enjoy some Tupac, but no, at that point, it might have been like Kesha or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Dang.
Just listen to some little, just some relaxed music to get your mind straight. And so here comes this like bright green, like lime green, like it said 392 on the side. I'll never forget it. And as a red lettering, it said like 392, I think.
Yep.
And that bitch was loud. And he comes rolling past me and he's like, whoa, and it was like this chubby guy sitting there and he had like this big, fat, chubby arm. And he was just like, you know, and I'm just like, I'm going to blow this motherfucker's doors out. And then so I take off and he just walks the shit out of me. And not only does he walk me, he gets in front of me, jumps over into the third lane, and then sticks that chubby arm out, and he just starts doing this. And it just like, it hurt my heart.
Oh, man.
It hurt my heart. And I was like,
God, dude, that was terrible.
these damn Dodge guys. So
that's the Dodge guy.
yeah, that's the Dodge guy deal. So every time I see a green Dodge, I'm just like,
Dang, and that's Zilla.
it just reminds me that I need to build something
Hey, man,
faster.
step up.
So that feels really good for TJ to give you that sticker because he has a vendetta against green Dodges.
Yeah. So after that, like I was like, and you can ask Cassie, I just went like ape shit. Like every dime I made, I'm like, okay, I need to get headers. Okay, I need to get an intake manifold. Okay, I need to get this. I need a converter. I need that.
What's she thinking?
She's thinking, there goes all of our money that we're trying to save to buy a house.
This dude that I've known for 6 months is buying a car that I just fucking
Right. And he's like,
real.
I'm like, dude, the bank would be really proud of this car right now. This bitch looks great.
That's awesome.
Sir, why do you have your Mustang covered for $100,000?
It's like one of those deals where like you want to take it back to like the car salesman and you'd be like, look what I did.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, now that I'm older, I know he's like, I got your money, bitch.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that was my first deal of like trying to do this all motor deal. And I ended up breaking I don't know if it would be technically breaking or just, I was the first two. You know how there's all those micro records in drag racing?
Yes.
So I was the first two with an 18 manifold, a non-ported 18 manifold with a Gen 2 Mustang, which is 2015 to 2017, to get a 10-second quarter mile out of it all motor.
Damn, all motor.
And we did it with like all eBay parts and like secondhand shit that I was getting off all the rich Mustang guys that were building their shit like hardcore.
Yeah.
And they were just like, everybody just jumped on board because I just talked so much shit online. They're just like, hey man, if I'll sell you this converter cheap. Like go out there and piss that guy off. I'm like, okay.
Nice. That's awesome.
Damn, you could use, that's smart.
Yeah. So as an up and comer, like, being a likable person and, like, obviously I was putting on the rentals and stuff and I'm like, well, I mean, there's a bargaining chip there, and so I was able to build a pretty badass little car. And then do you guys remember a couple of years ago whenever the GT500 came out and that like kid guy that has a YouTube channel came here and busted off like a 1065 or something with like no helmet, and then we got grilled for it like on by NHRA and on social media and everything. Yeah, that's when I learned all publicity is good publicity. Yeah, because as much as I got grilled for it there, I had all these GT500s and Mustangs started showing up here. They're like, hey, we want to run on that track.
Yeah, nice.
You got events like this, like, That's the other thing they did. Yeah, and that's the line that you were talking about.
Right.
With
So
the NHRA.
So the guy, like, I don't know, just something about it. Not that I didn't have a problem with him, thought he was a cool dude, but I'm like, this dude just bought this car. He's not a Mustang enthusiast. He goes out there and he busts off like a 10.6. At this point, I had like a Cobra Jet intake on my car and I was running like 10.7s. And I'm like, why am I letting somebody like this go faster than me? And then, so then I'm just like, I've got to go boost.
It needs air.
Right. It needs something to make it faster.
That's awesome.
In the meantime, when I saw that, well, at that point in time, Steve was with his old company and was coming from California. And I got a random message from his partner out of the blue. It was like, hey, we're looking at moving to Georgia or to Texas and just wanted to pick your brain on the scene there. And at this point in time, like I was pretty prominent in the scene. I'd already become like a moderator on our big page, DFWS 550s, which is a badass Mustang page. It's literally one of the most like, people get scammed all over the place in this industry. But that page, like everybody has everybody's back. Like, I mean, they fight amongst themselves. Yeah. But if some shit happens, like everybody's there. Yeah. Even if that dude hates your guts, like you might get a fucking card from him if something bad happened. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But, so he kind of got my information from Rob Shoemaker, and which is a tuner, Steve's buddy. Yep. And said, TJ's a good dude, get with him and, pick his brain or whatever. Well, they decided they were going to move here to Texas. And, one of the deals they made with me is like, hey man, you push our product, like we'll help you with your car. We'll give you some discounts and, we'll help you build your car. Well, here I am poor boy Bailey, and I'm like, yeah, I'm about to go fast.
It'll motivate you, man. It'll motivate you.
And you did good.
And I did good, but I learned a lot of lessons, not necessarily that anybody's bad, but everybody wants what's best for them.
That's it.
And I wanted what's best for me. Obviously, other people wanted what's best for them. So, the car community is wild. Like,
It is.
people
It
fight. Eventually, that organization, that group dissipated, and Steve went his own way. Well, at that point in time, me and Steve developed just a great friendship. Steve was in my wedding.
He's good people.
And, I'm going to follow Steve.
Steve's good people.
And I've had a lot of people say, I don't say a lot, but I've heard it through the grapevine. Oh, TJ just jumped shops. No, I don't. I just follow the people that do my shit to whatever shop they go to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's pretty much how I am. If I bought a Dodge, I don't care if I'm pissing off any Dodge people on here. When you're at the track, everybody's even. I got to make the rules right. And Chris knows I've had to make calls against him and his cars. And that's what we do as workers here.
Yep.
But if I bought a Dodge, you bet your ass I'm taking it to Bailey's.
Yeah.
One, because of what they do. Two, because Chris has had my back.
Yep.
He comes to all my rentals. He sponsored my race, the T&E Promotion Streetcar Showdown.
Yep.
Whenever people do stuff for me,
Oh, yeah.
I make sure that I try to return the favor as best I can.
Yeah. For sure.
And I've taken slack from people in the communities over that.
Yeah.
Namely the Dodge people.
Yeah.
Dodge people, I'm not in the Dodge scene. I don't know shit about Dodge. I don't even care to fight with Dodge people because I don't know anything about the platform other than, IRS as opposed to a 4-link, whatever.
Yeah.
Like the basic. Yeah. And I've had people, you're making rules to fit him. You're doing this, you're doing that. I just look around at like what Streetcar Takeover is doing, what TX2K is doing, where I think that I can get a car count. Let's be honest. If you're putting a race on,
You're trying to make money.
what's the
man.
most important? The two most important things when you put a race on?
Car count?
Spectator count is number one.
Right.
Car count is number two. You better get the car count right, or the spectators aren't going to come.
That's right.
Or you can have a low car count, but it better be badass cars,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it better be competitive racing.
Yeah.
So that's the two things I needed was car count, spectators. So who do I go to? The people that I can only throw rules together as best I can based off of the knowledge that I have.
Sure.
So I go to the people in the industry that know, these cars. Well, how am I going to make a Dodge, if we do like a heavyweight deal or whatever? I don't even know if I can say that. Isn't somebody trying to trademark that?
Yeah.
So either way, if we do like some type of deal like that, and so I look at their rules, I look at other rules, and I'm like, okay, well, where do I feel that these rules are lacking? Where do I feel like we can have a tighter field? The tighter the field, the more cars you'll have show up.
Sure.
Yep.
The first time you fuck up and you make it to where one car can go faster, you kill the whole class.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So, I have people just chew my ass. I mean, just block me on Facebook, talk shit about me, try to roast me on forums because I'm like, no, we're not going to allow that suspension type. No, we're not going to allow that turbo size. No, we're not,
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you piece of shit. I'm like, dude, clearly if you showed up, you're going to bust everybody's ass if I allow these rules. So that's the hardest part of being a promoter and being on this side of it.
I was about to say, man, because it gets ugly, and that's when you see
does.
all of the raw side of it,
Right.
Because racing, and if we have folks that watch this that aren't into racing, and sometimes like it just gets so the minutia is so weird, dude.
It is.
It's
And
like
And I think people think that me and you are related.
So that happens a lot. They're like, "Oh, you and Chris Bailey related." I'm like, "No, I got a Y." Or E.
Yeah, he's got an E. I don't have an E.
Yeah.
So if people think that we're related and that he's like having bias because we're related and that's not the case, that's not it. I mean, and if it is, and if we were related, I got the better end of the deal.
Clearly.
He couldn't duck the ugly stick, but it's all right. I am the better looking out of the brothers if we were brothers.
You can-
but
you could take it
That
like
is true. That is true.
you can use it as
There's no way I could grow a beard like that.
you can use them as the beneficial brother or the
Yeah.
fair weather brother. Be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, he's my brother. Be like, no, I don't even know that motherfucker.
yeah, my family was drunk and they forgot to put the E in the last
Yep.
name when they wrote it down.
My
so
t-shirt's
that's how
wrong.
that is. Yeah.
I guess what I was saying is where I was getting into that is like supporting the people that support me.
Yeah.
Is that's kind of my MO is like coming up. That's how I was raised. That's how I was taught. Take care of those that take care of you.
Oh,
but also, when you try to be a promoter, I feel like I'm a good promoter. I've never put on a race. Me and Eric DeMarcus, we've never put on a race that we've ever lost money. We've gotten close a few times, but we've never lost money.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for something like that.
Yeah.
But, through the year, when you put out the rules, just look for getting shit talked.
Yeah.
You put out, if you make one, call that would maybe go in a Bailey's car favor, or would maybe go in an Amp car's favor.
You mean your brother?
Or my brother. Yeah. Sorry, brother. But then you just know, like, I'm going to get fucking trashed online. I'm going to get trashed. And then it happens. It never fails. It happens. And that's where, as a promoter, the friend side of TJ, the want to be a racer side of TJ, I'm like, man, I fucking love you guys. Yeah. And then, but at the track, I distance myself because I may have to make that call.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it could, like that?
No, turn the mic.
Oh, right there?
Yep.
Okay. So one, I could have
That's
to make
strike
a call.
one, by the way.
Yeah, I'm about to get fired.
Fuck around and find out, dude.
So one, I have to make a call. One, if it has to go against somebody that I do consider a friend.
Yeah.
That friendship may end. And
no. There's a whole policy behind that.
So
it's happened. I know.
But here's the thing: like you say, a friendship ends, but was it a friendship in the first place?
That's true. But
you find out who your friends are.
It's subjective.
It is right. It's not about what happened. It's more about the relationship. So
I've had people who are like, "Man, T, you fucked me on that one," but guess what? We still get it.
Exactly. That's normal, right?
And then I have to sit down and reason with them why I made that call. Every call I make, I try to make for the group, not for the individual.
Right.
That's the way I was taught.
That's right.
And, I'm like, okay, so if every single person in this group, I had to make this call, would I make the same call for every person in this group?
Sure.
And that's where I try to do what I do.
Yeah.
And, when you have to make a hard call as a promoter in drag racing and you're friends with drag racers and you're in the community, it sucks.
Dude. Well, no, so we talk about that. So there's a common thread, and it's true with anything. So we business, we talk a lot about entrepreneurship, being business owners, things like that. We see what you do, and I can tell you, I can feel you, man. Those decisions, dude, they're hard to make, and especially when you're on a stage in front of like a community, and then you got to go to the next event when they're going to be
That's
there.
right. That's right.
And you're sitting there, and you just want to go.
Well, it's because we put a lot of effort, we put a lot of money.
It's personal, man.
It's a personal thing that we're trying to do, which we can see that when we go places and race other people, that it goes from a friendship to not a friendship anymore because of outcomes on things. But at the end of the day, we should all be able to sit down and break bread, but people take it personal and they let the emotion.
There's nothing personal here. We're having fun.
They let the emotion get involved. And that's the hard part. Some people have the hard time deciphering the difference between the two.
Yeah. I have a hard time liking people like that. So go ahead, man. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I was just gonna say I've had situations where people are like, I'm never coming back to support one of your races again. And I'm like, damn, I thought we were good. Like, shit, I'm sorry I didn't go your way, but like I have to trust my staff too. I can't just overturn my staff.
Cool,
What's the point of me bringing staff in if
cool, thanks.
Yeah. And that's one thing I did do differently the last two races. I started bringing in a race director, which that race director was Trey Capps, the guy that used to be Division 4 coordinator. This man has 30 years of experience in drag racing, and I'm like, he will make the call. That way I can distance myself from it as a promoter, and I can kiss babies, prep a racetrack, promote the race. And if you're mad, you can be mad at him, and then you and me can talk it out and figure it out.
Well, I am mad at you.
Oh.
Go ahead. What you got?
You have given me too much confidence to push my car to the limit, and I've gone through motor, axles, drive shafts, diffs, transmissions, and you have cost me a lot of money.
Well, so that's a double-edged sword. That's a double-edged sword. And I always say this, and I say I'm a shop's best friend. Because when they come to my rental, it's called force upgrades.
That's right.
When I break your shit, guess who gets to install it?
Yep.
The shop.
Well,
Guess who gets to order the part? The shop.
Yep.
it's a good filter.
Yes.
It really is a good filter down to like the right shop. It's funny, because I've been out, here with different shops and broke shit, and you probably knew what the fuck was wrong, but you didn't say anything. You're like, he'll find his way.
I'm a firm believer in people will find their way.
Yeah.
The results will show themselves.
Yes.
I see cars that I know when they come up, I'm like, that car's going to do some cool shit. And then I see some cars that I'm just like, that guy spent a lot of money, but hopefully he learns,
Get the shit ready.
Yeah. So, and it's just, and God bless it. I feel like everybody can continue to learn, and that goes for shops. That goes for anybody. I've been prepping tracks for 20 years and I'm still learning shit.
Oh yeah.
If you never stop learning, you will continue to progress.
Yeah.
That's what I've always believed in my career. So, and I think that goes for shops also. I've seen some people that were running, well, he'll take Chris, for example, like back 5-6 years ago, like Bailey's wasn't what they are now. And a lot of that has to do with going through and just beating the shit out of your own combination, learning shit, breaking shit, learning shit, breaking more shit. And then you just progressively figure it out. It's not, you don't just say, oh, well, hey, guess what? Knowledge just popped in my head this morning when I woke up and now I know how to do it. Well, guess what? TJ Bailey preps racetracks, but TJ Bailey has fucked up on prepping a lot of racetracks.
Yes.
And then figured it out.
That's because you get there. You have to get there. It's the journey, man. And that's part of it, man.
A lot of it's learned through desperation.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, dude. The desperation, that's a really good point. It's like you just want to make it work and you want, so badly to be the right person for something. Like people do a lot out of desperation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've had a lot of people say that to me. They're like, how'd you learn how to do that? And I'm like, desperation.
Yeah. Fuck.
I just was like, fuck, what else can we do?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good.
So what is the future for TJ?
Well, so I'm not, I enjoy thinking about the future and I feel like I'm at an age now where I just want to enjoy life right now. Like I want to work, make good money and take lots of cruises with my wife. That is like, and my parents, a vacation for us was anywhere in South Texas. We didn't ever go out of the state of Texas. We didn't ever go on cruises. We never took flights.
Right.
We just didn't have the money to do it. And, my dad was working constantly to try to make ends meet for all of us, which he, in his own right, is super successful now and has provided us with an incredible life. And I owe him everything.
Yeah.
And my mom, my mom was the rock that holds everything together at home, and that's kind of how me and Cassie are. I travel, I work 7 days a week and she holds the fort down. But as far as the future for me, it's just enjoying watching my kids grow. It's an enjoying working out here, not traveling around the country as much, but
getting time back.
Right, just getting time back. And I've missed a lot with Kobe, and that hurts me. So I made it just an absolute. I don't care what race it is. I turned down big races last year to make sure I was at all of Kobe's football games.
Saw that.
To make sure, I lost Mod Nationals because of it. Mm-hmm. And that was the hardest call I ever made, was to call Justin and tell him, hey, man, I'm not going to make Mod Nationals.
But he's at that age, man.
That's right. I can't miss this. This is a once-in-a-life opportunity to watch his possibly last football game ever, and it ended up being his last football game. And it was something that hurts because I lost that race, and I enjoy working that race because it's my Mustang buddies. Mm-hmm. But it's also something that I love my son.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't miss something like that.
The race can come next year.
Mm-hmm. Right. Just like with Lil Tater when he gets up, and Lane's trying out for baseball now. If he's playing Heritage Baseball all through this year, I'm going to be at every damn game I can be at.
Yeah, dude. That's a rough schedule.
That's awesome.
And it's just, I want to be more family oriented going forward than what I used to. My family has had to live life without me being on the road so much. And, Cassie handles it well. She holds the fort down, and she'll call and chew my ass every now and then. Hey, you need to call your oldest son. He's got an attitude on him. The middle child, I'm going to throw him out a window. The younger child, whatever. So, but I want to be there to help her. And as far as future, I feel like my future's here.
Yeah.
Like I love the Texas Motorplex. I love being home.
Yeah.
I love working at Clampitt. Clampitt takes good care of me. I'm pretty content with what I got. And I get a lot of requests to go travel and work these races. Now I'll do some stuff for Jimmy Bradshaw, is a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Preps tracks also, one of the best in the country, best in the world.
Yeah.
And, like I'll do little stuff like that, but I couldn't see myself going and working for organizations again out on the road. Like I just can't do that. I can't be away from my family like that anymore.
Tough.
Yeah. So
You've
I'm
put in the
happy here.
time.
Yeah. I'm
You've
just
earned
happy here
it.
playing with my streetcar buddies.
You've earned that time now.
Yeah.
You put in the work, put in the hours, the sacrifices. That's awesome. That's good.
Dude,
That's good.
Content's not a word we hear a lot.
Yeah. It's, we always want more money, but I just want more time with my family.
That's been my journey lately, is just time.
Yeah.
It's like I got some pretty hard lanes, that it's just because I'm protecting myself, right? And I'm protecting my family. Chris, same thing. I mean, they're in a family business, right? And that one's a hard one.
Yeah.
I bet you in the Wi-Fi a lot, huh? Like when you're at work. She's
I
like,
grew
"You
up.
gotta get this one
I grew up. So I already know. I grew up in a family business.
Yeah.
It was 15 years of family business. Like
Yeah.
I grew up in that atmosphere, so I already know. Like it's just your whole family has to be involved all the time.
Yeah.
It's
and
nonstop.
she's really good. We do have our differences a lot, but she really makes the whole thing.
She will gut you.
Does she hold the fort down?
She does.
She's the
Chris
one.
is
She's
scared.
on you.
Chris is scared.
I'm scared.
She really runs it. Especially when it comes to things like that, her intuition for certain things is different than mine, and she's always more like trying to protect the situation, right? She's like, you're don't go outside the boundaries, because there people are starting to take advantage of situations,
Right.
So you gotta reel it back in.
That's hard. That's a hard one because that's a wife conversation there, dude.
Yep. And she's
that's-
like, you need to relax a little.
So that's something that, happens with me too, is like sometimes Cassie has to reel me back in. She's like, hey, don't be making these deals. Don't be, like just people just asking different questions to me about track stuff and this and that. She's like, just tell them that's out of your wheelhouse. Like they need to talk to Eric or DeMarcus, like whatever, like you're going overboard to help these people out. And not necessarily because they didn't do nothing for you, but just, hey, you're stressing for no reason. You need to cool down. You know what your wheelhouse is, and stay in it. And I'm like, okay. So that's what I've been trying to do more of. When people message me, I don't just go on a half-day mission to try to figure out something for them. If I know the answer, great. If not, I'm gonna send you the information to the person you need to contact.
Well, the life that you've touched, and I'm gonna say this before we wrap up in the final closings of things. The life that you've touched with me, Marlene, and my family has been pretty significant. And watching you, how you treated and affected our business, being the welcoming person that you've been, to where we can come out, explore safely and not be critiqued and put down, has really accelerated my business. So I thank you for that. But two, to get you to watch how you interact with your family and your children has really inspired me to know that the two can exist.
Absolutely.
Right? So to see the hard work that you put in for Kobe to do what he's doing, and then have fun doing it, and then he has your same personality. He'll always come up and be like, hey, man, how are you, Chris? How are things? It's good to see you out here. And it's like, man, that's TJ. That's little TJ doing the same thing. Because when I was out here first, he would come and say, man, hey, buddy, thanks for coming. And I'm like, wow, I'm just a nobody about to mess up your track. Right?
Hope you could prep track, bitch.
That's all right. I got some good young guys to clean it up, though.
Yeah, so it's been good.
Before we cut off, I do got to give a shout out to Cody Sullivan.
Yeah.
So I haven't mentioned his name in the interview tonight. So, but Cody is y'all know Cody. A lot. He's that goofy little brother that everybody everybody loves, and it's just he's such a character. And he's done such a great job learning the prep game. So at some point I'm going to take him to do some things out on the road with me that we've got some offers for. So
nice.
But Cody's that type of guy as well. He wants to know everybody. He loves everybody.
Yep.
And it's good to have young men like that around.
Yeah. Everybody here's been awesome and welcoming, and it's a thank you for that confidence. Thank you for showing, how you operate the family, because you may not think that people are watching in that aspect of your life, but they're
watching.
Yeah,
I'm a Facebook creeper, dude.
Because how you how you treat your family at home shows how you treat people here.
Yeah.
And hats off, dude. You're doing a good job.
Well, I appreciate it.
You're doing a really good job in business, personal, everything. Like, I'm proud of you, and thank you for being an inspiration.
Yes, sir.
So,
well, I appreciate it.
With that, though,
Question.
what is the best piece of advice that you would give a young buck? Young TJ. What would you tell him, knowing what you know now? What would you tell that young TJ?
Stay humble and bust your ass. If just like I said a little earlier, if it's not your job to think you're somebody, it's somebody else's job to figure that out. So you bust your ass, you stay humble, and the good things will come to you.
There you go.
It's great advice, man.
That's it.
Dude.
The legend. We finally got him in.
Tracked down. Jesus.
Yeah, we had to corner him at the track.
No, I was telling him.
Not even as much drama as I thought.
Yeah, no.
You need to fire your agent, bro.
Yeah. That's
what this $500 talk to TJ fee keeps showing up on the credit card statement.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm a hard guy to nail down sometimes.
Man, we had to. Man, we had to. Look, we're coming to the track. You're doing it. You're doing the podcast now.
Yeah.
It's been a year in the works trying to get you tied down.
Yep.
But it's been great, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for telling us about your life and opening up to our viewers that don't know who you are, and hopefully now know that it is safe to come out here and be taken care of.
El Prepe.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So,
thank you guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you till next time.
Later.
Like, follow, subscribe.
All three.
On all three: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Right? Deep Stage Podcast. See you guys next time.
Later.